Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Kelly Noonan Gores, and she's here today to share with us her new documentary and book, Heal, Discover Your Unlimited Potential and Awaken the Powerful Healer Within. Based on the award-winning film by the same name, Heal by filmmaker Kelly Noonan Gores takes us on a scientific and spiritual journey where we discover our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions have a huge impact on our health and ability to heal from injury and illness. In the last 100 years, medicine has taught us to view our bodies as machines, leaving us at the mercy of our genes. Heal not only taps into the brilliant minds of leading scientists and spiritual teachers, but follows two people on actual healing journeys. Their journeys and results demonstrate that the path of healing can be complex and deeply personal. So let's welcome to the show, Kelly Noonan Gores.
Thank you for having me.
What an honor it is to have you here. And my goodness, I absolutely loved your book, and the documentary I know is just absolutely amazing. And I have to ask you, what inspired you initially to create the documentary and then the book?
Yeah, the documentary was such a calling in my heart. And I don't know, I think it was just a lifetime of events that led me to make it. And, it's about the power of our mind-body connection and how our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions affect our health. So one would maybe assume that I went through a health crisis myself, or perhaps lost someone close to me to an illness, and neither of those are true. Like everybody else, I've navigated health challenges and figured it out. But I really just wanted to put all the teachers, spiritual teachers, scientists, people that I had studied their books, listened to their talks over the years, and I wanted to put them into one film to spread a message of empowerment and really teach us that, we are co-creators with life, and we have more influence over our life and our health than we've kind of been led to believe. So, it was a lifetime of events. I wish I had more time to share, some of the big ones, but it really just was a calling. I had to do it, and people kept coming to me, asking me how are you so healthy? How are you so happy? What's your workout routine? What's your, and the biggest aspect of my health and happiness was the mental aspect. So I just put all my teachers in one film to hopefully empower others.
Well, isn't that kind of the truth, where everything starts with that whole mental aspect? Because without that, regardless what we're going through, it could be very good or very bad.
Absolutely. It's all perception. It's all, we talk about this in the film, it's our subconscious belief systems, it's like we're wearing glasses. And if those belief systems are negative and disempowering, which oftentimes they are, Bruce Lipton, one of the scientists in the film, says that 75% of our subconscious beliefs are negative and disempowering. So that's the lens through which we look at life. And, I want to kind of clean the lens for people and give them their power back.
Well, you've got some really impressive people that are part of this project, but why don't we start before we go there? Because gosh, I have so many questions for you here. Why don't we start? Because I think a lot of times people think, okay, health, that's kind of a word that gets thrown around. I mean, what does it really mean?
We're our bodies are amazing. And that was another kind of inspiration to make the film. I'm so fascinated at the intelligence of the human body. And what I learned along the way is that we're literally designed to heal in every moment. It's what happens when we sleep. Our nervous system is either in fight or flight or rest and repair. And so our bodies are just these intelligent communities and systems that are constantly cleaning themselves up. And basically what I look at health is, we have this word disease. And that's when things are out of balance in our bodies. So we look at it as, if we take it apart, that word is dis-ease. Something is not right with your body. So what that tells me is that your body is meant to be healthy. It's meant to thrive. It's meant to be in a state of ease. And when it's knocked out of balance, when you get sick, it's in dis-ease. So I view health as our natural state of ease and thriving.
Well, I'm so glad you shared that with us, because a lot of times, I mean, me included, I could be in this kind of area of stress and anxiety. And I think most people kind of live in there where we're not really supposed to be there.
Yes, absolutely. Our brains are kind of hardwired for survival. We haven't quite evolved past that. So, we're in the days of yore, we would scan our environment for any, wild animal that might, want to eat us for dinner. So our brains are kind of hardwired to look for that worst case scenario in order to survive. And now we don't have those immediate life threatening predators in our environments, but we have the same physiological reaction to these threats that in our environment now, which are like bills that we owe, or a toxic work environment, or a scary boss, or unsteady relationship. All of these things are sending us into the stress response, and also just the amount of information we're getting. We have these smartphones and this amazing thing called the internet, and but we're 24/7 being inundated with information. Again, most of which is negative, or are kind of inspiring fear in us. So we really do need to kind of be mindful of what we're consuming, and take set into play daily practices where we can turn within, shut out that stimulation from the outside world, and really reconnect with nature and with ourselves.
Well, what's great is on your website, you have this really peaceful picture of you at the beach sitting there. And I think a lot of times people think, gosh, how can I find a moment of peace throughout my busy, crazy, stressful day? And you really kind of show people there are ways to carve that out.
Absolutely. I love this Zen proverb that says you should meditate for 20 minutes every day. And if you are too busy to meditate, you should meditate for an hour. So, the whole thing with meditation and these daily practices that really have a tremendous effect on our health is we have to carve out time. We have to, they're acts of self-love. And a lot of people throw around that term, but it's our lifestyle behaviors. It's this incessant keeping up with the Joneses that are breaking down our bodies and causing over half of Americans to be sick with a chronic illness. And it's not sustainable. So we have to take our power back. We have to know how stress affects our physical bodies. 95% of what takes people to the doctor these days are stress-related illnesses. And we get into more of that in the film, but experts of all different types of backgrounds know that is true. And there's a few different kinds of stress. There's chemical stress, emotional stress, and physical stress. But the one that we have most control over is our lifestyle choices, and a lot of that has to do with the foods that we eat, which would be the chemical stresses, and our emotional well-being. So again, it's just implementing daily practices where we can take a breath, reconnect to ourselves, do acts of self-love, whether that's take a bath, shut off our smartphones, reconnect with nature, go outside, get vitamin D from the sun, slow down. Like you said earlier, yoga, movement is essential, and it's just changing that perception of why we're doing these things. For instance, a lot of people feel like they have to exercise because if they don't exercise, they'll get fat, or they don't like themselves at the weight they are, so they have to exercise. And then there's this kind of stress energy around that need for exercise. But if you can just, this subtle shift in perception of understanding the amazing benefits, not only on your mind, not only on your body, but on your mental health as well. The endorphins that will be released with exercise. Even if it's just a hike in nature or a 45-minute walk with a girlfriend, just knowing and looking at that as an act of self-care rather than, oh my gosh, if I don't do it, I'll, not lose weight or whatever that story you're telling in your head. It's this subtle shift of doing these things out of self-care rather than stress and fear.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, I there have been many times I go to the gym. It's like, okay, I've got to do this. How much time do I have? And it makes it such the mindset like that will really make it such you know a task that no one wants to do.
Right, exactly. It gets harder, and
Hmm.
added stress, and we're trying to release stress.
Get to a new place. Well, my goodness, you have like the who's of experts that have really contributed to this project. What I mean, did you have like an aha moment as you were doing this and working with all these great people?
Yes, I mean they had been my teachers, like I said, and so it was a little intimidating at first to reach out and think that they would sit down with little old me and share their wisdom, and it was just such a wonderful. There was such an energy behind the project that I don't take credit for at all. I just, when I said yes to that calling in my heart, it was almost like life conspired to make it all happen, and so that was kind of the aha. It's like when you start to pay attention to what turns you on inside, what ignites your energy, you know, like what lights you up to talk about. These are all signals. Your body is telling you that's your passion. That's what you should pursue. And so once I said yes to this idea that I had been mulling over in my head, and I took action steps towards that goal and that vision, the universe conspired, and they started saying yes. And it was a little intimidating at first to embark on a journey that I had never done. I'd been in entertainment industry for my whole life, but I had never directed a film. But this was such a clear vision that I knew I had it in me to do. But again, sitting down with the Deepak Chopras and the Marianne Williamsons of the world, I was a little intimidated. But after a while, I realized, I'm being driven by a um, really genuine intention to inspire and help people, and also a genuine curiosity. So, they said yes. There's a reason. There's a reason I'm sitting here, and just let the curiosity guide you. And so it was just a really cool unfoldment of realizing that if we follow our heart, if we follow what gives us energy and lights us up, it's meant to be, and you have the ability to see it through.
How important is that? And I really felt like Hill gives people like a place to start if they're looking at their health. I mean, I've known people that have had doctors tell them, "Hey, there's nothing we can do for you. We have no idea what caused your illness," and so there's really kind of this lack of hope. And I think this allows people to take, kind of control of their health again.
Absolutely. And we talk about how crucial and essential hope is. Some of you might be familiar with the concept of the placebo effect, where if, uh, say you're testing an antidepressant, well, they have to give one group the real drug and then compare it to a group who's getting a sugar pill and see what the difference is in the effects. And oftentimes what they find is the group that was taking the sugar pill, an inert substance, shouldn't have had any effect on their body. Up to 50 to 75% of them reported feeling the same effects that the people taking the actual drug, the actual antidepressant, were experiencing. So the people taking the sugar pill had elevated moods, they were feeling better, and it was, that's the placebo effect. When you expect that something is going to have a certain outcome, and you feel the feelings, and you believe, and you have hope for that, your body responds by releasing the exact same chemistry that the antidepressant was delivering to the body. So it's fascinating. On the flip side of that, there's something called the nocebo effect. So if you take away someone's hope, if you tell someone, there's only a 3 to 5% chance you're going to live with this type of tumor or whatever, that takes away their hope. People believe and expect and have the feelings of that worst case scenario, and the brain and body respond in kind. So, the power of language of doctors, not many of them are aware of how powerful their language is. And so we just need to be mindful. And just so this film is trying to make people aware that they should go get the best medical advice they can get from the best specialists and doctors, get their diagnosis, but don't accept a prognosis. Don't accept what the doctors say is possible in your life, because, why can't you be that 3 to 5%? Take your control of your health back. And, it's there's so much research behind it. There's also a woman, Kelly Turner, who wrote the book Radical Remission. And she interviewed 1,500 people who their doctors told them there was nothing else they could do. And basically go home, get your affairs in order, and say goodbye to your loved ones. And 1,500 people that she interviewed, they all healed. They went home and turned their lives around and healed. So she found they did these 9 things. And she's actually coming out with a new book, adding the 10th thing. But only 2 of those 9 were physical, and the rest were mental, emotional, and spiritual things. So it's just fascinating that, so much more is possible than, what a doctor might tell you is.
You look at the human body is so remarkable. There's unlimited possibilities of things that can happen, that a lot of times people go, well, that could be bad, but a lot of great things,
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. It's fascinating. I love stories of spontaneous healing, and there's so much is possible in life. It's just, go for the possibility.
In the book you talk about, and I know you do in the movie as well, is like food is medicine. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. They attribute Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, Greek philosopher and doctor, of him saying, let thy food be thy medicine. And I really do believe, our mental health is very closely connected to our gut health. And so unfortunately today we have all these convenience foods, and it's great, but we've kind of tipped the scale into not so great. So we're eating all these, quote unquote food-like substances, but they're not food. There's zero nutrition left in them. They're packed with preservatives and chemicals that come, with the processing process for lack of better.
Processed all that processed food, right?
All that processed food, so we're eating these things that our bodies aren't equipped to digest, and so we need to go back to eating foods in their natural state. There's so much to be said. There's so many different diets out there, and I'm certainly not in an authority to tell you which one is right for you. I do believe in bio-individuality, which means not everybody, paleo or keto might work for some people, but vegetarianism and veganism will work better for others. So there's as many diets out there as people, because we're all different. All that to say, we should eat foods as close to nature intended them as possible. So we want to eat local, in season, organic, whole foods as much as possible. If you eat animal products, you want to eat animals raised humanely, not pumped with antibiotics and hormones, and fed their natural diet. So, you don't want to go out and eat corn-fed beef, because then you're eating a sick cow, a diabetic cow. They're not meant to eat corn. Yes, it fattens them up and, gives nice tender meat to the market, but these are sick cows, which is why, they're being fed corn. Then they get sick because that's not their natural diet. And so because they're sick, they need to be pumped with antibiotics, which is then in the meat that you're consuming, which is why many people are resistant to strains of antibiotics these days. So again, all that to say, eat food, whether it's animal products or whole foods, as close to nature intended them as possible.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, when we think about, the foods that we eat, most people don't take in consideration. It's like, if we're eating an animal that's sick, how is that going to impact our health? It's probably not going to make us healthy either.
Exactly. All that energy is in the meat. And it's, as well as, how were they raised? How were they, killed. If it was inhumanely, and there's a lot of that these poor animals, fear in the energy of the food that you're consuming. And so you don't want to consume that. You don't want to consume sick and stressed out food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they say they use corn actually quite a bit to fatten up animals because that's what that's meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
Where as you mentioned, I mean, they're not really meant to eat that. Cows eat grass, and
Correct.
the other things.
Exactly.
So, for our listeners that are looking for ways that they can reprogram their body to kind of give themselves some empowering beliefs, what would you suggest?
Well, I'm a big believer in meditation, and meditation requires nothing else but a somewhat quiet place, and us turning within, closing our eyes, and connecting to our breath or to a mantra or whatever form of meditation you have learned. And we have YouTube, we have a bunch of free apps available to us now. So for a relatively low to no cost, your body is your instrument, and that's all you need. And meditation is hugely transformative. And there are the spiritual aspects that people have a meditation practice for, but just the practical aspects of the effects that you get you reduce stress, you calm the nervous system, you also release all sorts of healing neurochemistry. So meditation, start for 5 minutes a day. Then, I think the benefits really come from 15 to 20 minutes of meditation a day. If you're really disciplined and serious about it, you do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, but it's life-changing and it's cumulative. And I love the way Marianne Williamson talks about it in the film. She says, we wash off the gunk of the day from our bodies in the shower every day, or every other day if you're a water conservationist. But that's our physical hygiene. Just as important as physical hygiene, if not more so, is mental hygiene. And we need to wash away the tension of our day that we accumulate in our minds. And again, we're being inundated all the time by information. A lot of it is negative. We need to turn within, cut out all that outside stimulation, connect with our breath. All of that calms the nervous system, and we just release, the brain just releases, and the mind releases all that accumulated tension from the day. You do that, you have that practice for a month, 2 months, years. You not only reduce stress on a daily basis, you then create this vessel, you create space in your mind and your life so that you're not as reactive to life. You can take a breath and respond more. And I've seen it firsthand in my life. I've been meditating for 12 years, and I can't imagine it without meditation. It's a huge game changer and a really practical and empowering tool.
Yeah, how powerful is that? My goodness. And you talk about another tool that I was really happy to see in this. I was like, yes, I do that too, is gratitude. I'd love for you to share that with our listeners.
Absolutely. I'm a big, believer in the law of attraction. Everything is energy. What we send out into the universe, we attract back. Our emotional state is kind of determines the frequency in which we vibrate, because again, we're all energy, and we like attracts like. So we're going to attract things and circumstances and people on that same frequency. Gratitude gets you to the highest frequency possible in my mind. And it's the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. Physiologically speaking, if we are closing our eyes and envisioning, a shark coming at us and biting us, we're going to have the same physiological response. When you have a nightmare, you wake up, you're sweating, you have a real response to an imagined event. So, to use that in a positive way. Again, our minds are so accustomed to going to the worst case scenario. That's why we're fearing and worrying something that hasn't happened yet. We need to take the reins of our mind back with a daily practice of gratitude, and spend 5, 10, 20 minutes a day just giving thanks for what we have in our lives that we're grateful for. again, that gets us into a really high vibration. We can't be anxious when we're thinking of things we're grateful for. The science, which you see in the film and the book, behind what positive emotions do for our health is staggering. So if you can set the intention to spend 5 to 20 minutes a day in gratitude, not only will you attract more things to be grateful for, but you're releasing all that positive healing chemistry. You're getting your nervous system into a calm, relaxed rest and repair state. So it's another thing that feels good and you can do daily basis, and it'll create wonderful things in your life.
So, if someone wants to start their healing journey now, what are some tips that you can give them to get started and to start the whole heal process?
Well, I would definitely say watch the film or get the book.
Those are good starting points.
It has a lot of information. The book has almost twice the information as the film because I was able to put more on the pages of the expert's wisdom. And what I recommend is that, watching the film or reading the book, find what resonates with you. Something will pop out, whether it's an expert that's in there and you really resonate with their line of work, then dive deeper into that. If it's a healer that's in the film or something that one of the people that we followed on a healing journey mentioned, follow that. So it's kind of like an introduction, a tray of what's available to you, and then you've got to take control of your health, find what resonates with you, and then educate yourself with the books. Find inspiring stories of people that have healed from your same condition. Foundation launch point is always diet. I think, I don't talk much about food in the film and a little bit in the book, but, again, our health, our foundation is what we're putting in, the nutrients, the health of our gut. So we want to start there, but then simultaneously, really be conscious of the amount of stress in your life and take steps towards reducing stress. And again, you'll get some guidance on how to do that in the film and the book. But like I said before, I highly recommend starting with meditation.
Well, I felt like your book, it's interesting. There are some parts that it's like, oh yeah, I know about meditation, but like how many of us really start that practice and do it every day? And I felt like your book was a really good resource to get, in some ways back to the basics on some things and new information on other things. And so it's just a great place to start. Where can our listeners find out more about the book and the documentary?
Sure. And just real quick, my last thing on meditation, the more you learn about the actual benefits that it gives you, the more likely you'll be able to stick to the practice. Because again, it is a practice that has exponential benefits if the longer you do it. So I will say that. So as far as the film and the documentary, go to healdocumentary.com. You can find everything there, all the links, depending on where you are in the world. And then, on social media, you can find us at Heal Documentary on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And they can download the documentary straight from the website, right?
Yep. There's a link that takes you to Vimeo, iTunes, Amazon, and then, of course, it's streaming on Netflix if you have Netflix.
If not, it's a good reason to get it, to watch it, or you can just download it straight from the website. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
My goodness, Kelly, it has been such an honor to spend this time with you, and of course, to talk about your documentary and new book, Heal. Heal's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And to learn more about that documentary, you can at healdocumentary.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just what moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Friday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.